Time for the preview show delivered by FedEx Racing. I'm Mark Fine. Welcome to the inaugural edition for 2011. Joined, as I will be weekly, by Marty Snyder. Marty, good to see you, my friend.
Mark, it's good to see you. Ready to kick off a new 2011 season, and certainly excited for the Daytona 500 this week.
Yeah, no doubt. New season, new rules, and a new track to start on. Look, one of the most storied venues in all of sports, but when I say new, it really is new this year, isn't it? This is going to be the big story going into Daytona, the new surface.
It's like walking into the brand new Yankee Stadium at the most famous track in NASCAR, brand new this year, and new pavement. The track has completely changed. The game is completely different at Daytona. It's all about speed. You know, we always talked in the past how handling was important at Daytona versus Talladega. Now it's all about the speed at Daytona. Handling doesn't mean a thing because everybody's car handles exactly the same. And I have as good of a chance of picking someone blindly out of a hat as I do picking the winner of the Daytona 500 this Sunday. It's going to be wild. I think we'll see a lot of leaders up front. It's going to be a fun race Sunday.
Yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll make our picks in a moment. First, though, we want to hear from Jamie McMurray, the defending champ. I asked him just a short while back what his expectations for this race were.
You know, from a driver's perspective, you're not ever really going to get a break. Daytona used to be about you would run in a pretty big pack, and then as the tires would wear out, guys whose cars did handle, it would get a little more single file. It will be 3 wide most of the race. There'll be some 4 wide action probably. And Daytona is so much narrower than Talladega that 3 or 4 wide is a big deal there. It's hard to do.
All right, so we hear what Jamie McMurray had to say. Now, Marty, I got to ask you this. We've had the shootout now, McMurray finishing second in that. What did the drivers learn in the shootout, and how will that play out on Sunday?
Well, I talked to Jeff Burton. He told me he learned more in that race than he did the entire month, thinking about Daytona and all the testing he did and all the practice they've done, because obviously we're going to see the 2-car tandem. That's going to be big. Who can you hook up with? But it's different because now the bumpers don't quite line up on certain cars. Some cars, they line up better than others. And you find some cars push you better than other cars did in the past. So it's going to be different, how you play that 2-car game. The biggest thing they learned is that clearly when you're tucked up behind someone, you have to switch out. When and how you make that move is one of the biggest keys, because you slow down so much when you tuck out from behind someone, try to get out in front of them, that what happens is another pack will catch you quickly. I think that's where the wreck will come on Sunday. It won't be the big 10, 12-car wrecks we've seen in the past. You may see 2, 4, maybe 6 cars wreck at a time, but that's what you'll find. Cars are going to catch you so fast that you have to kind of be out of the way when you do make that move. And can you make that move and still stay out front? Those are the big questions. How and when you make those moves will be the key to Sunday.
All right, let me ask you this. The new surface, the speed is what everybody's talking about. You talk about changes in the way we're racing. Is there concern, and you mentioned potential wrecks, is there concern that this is more dangerous at this track now?
I don't know that it's more dangerous because everything is spread out, but there is danger in how you make those moves around each other, because the ideal situation is you team up with a teammate, because you can talk to him on the radio. If you're with someone who's not your teammate,
right,
you can't talk to that person on the radio. So that makes it a lot more complicated. That's what we saw happen with Kyle Busch and Mark Martin in the Bud Shootout. They were having trouble communicating as to when you make that move, how you make that move, how you get back in line. But if you're with your teammate, all you do is click over one channel on the radio and you're talking to him. Move a little to your right, here I go, tuck back in. Okay, now you're all good. So you'll see a lot of teammates working together, more so than in the past even, because that's the key to all of that.
All right, what is the key to have success in this race? If you want one key or keys to victory at Daytona this year, what is it?
Handling's not going to matter. Tires aren't going to matter. So it's all going to be about speed and how well you communicate with the guy you're working with. And I think Jamie McMurray said it best. He told me he actually wants to be third on that last lap. You do not want to be leading on the white flag at Daytona, because you're not going to be the guy who wins the Daytona 500 in all likelihood. The guy who's running second is going to make a move on the guy who's leading. And McMurray's point is, if I'm in third, if I can get that guy in fourth to stay right behind me, we can get by both of those guys and win the Daytona 500. The one thing I can guarantee, Mark, you're not going to know who the winner is until that very last inch on the last lap, and we could see a photo finish on Sunday.
Yeah, and now that all said, one of the things we've got to do here on a weekly basis is make a pick. And as you mentioned earlier, very tough, maybe tougher than it's ever been to pick a winner in any race in NASCAR history. But we got to do it. I like Kyle Busch. Was thinking about McMurray because he was so nice and easy to deal with when we did the interview. But him going to the backup car, I'm going to go with Kyle Busch. Who do you like?
I'm going to go actually with Tony Stewart. I don't think that we've seen all the Stewart-Haas cars have. And from what I've heard in testing and everywhere, Tony was able to push people longer than anyone, stay behind them, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him make a move at the very end of the race. So I'm going to go with Tony Stewart, but you're right. We don't know who's going to win this thing. Anybody can win it, but I really like Tony Stewart because I don't think he's shown us everything he has so far.
Well, the one thing I do know, we're back at it again, and we're back talking racing. Great to see you, Marty. Great stuff as always.
All right, man. Looking forward to it next week as well.
All right. Yeah, thanks for logging on and to this first edition of the preview show delivered by FedEx Racing for 2011. We will see you again next week.